Oh,
Hello everyone and welcome back to our podcast Chassis Sasa. This week it's Baku. Thank you, Baku. So what are we talking about today?
Today, Ella, is one of my favourite tracks of all time. I absolutely adore the Baku track. It came with red flags, it came with crashes, it came with tyre failures. It was everything an F1 fan could have wanted happening in this race.
I'm excited. Right, let's dig in with quali.
Well, I think if I don't mind me starting with quali, the biggest thing of this was perhaps the amount of red flags we saw. It's a street circuit, I understand, but the amount of lockups we were seeing, I don't know if it's people not getting the tyre temps right or if they're not really a bit out of a practice of driving on this circuit. But last time we moaned about the Clerk ending Q3 prematurely at Monaco, but this just become a bit tedious. That every time someone tried to get a flying lap in, someone had just put it in the wall.
It seemed to be the same corners or similar corners.
Yeah, it was all, I think, 3, 8, 15. All of the ones with safety roads that were ready for someone to lock up and go straight down, I think. I don't know. It is a bit weird because even if we just go through each qualifying session, so Q1 immediately, I don't even know if that's a new record for a red flag, but Stroll put it in the wall remarkably quickly. Giovinazzi put it in the wall after the green flags were shown. Q2, Ricciardo put it in the wall. And then Q3 was ended by Sainz and Tsunoda locking up. And we go, Sainz, I think, actually avoided it. I think it got a little bit of front wing damage, but Tsunoda put it in the wall. And this is the problem, that it's what ended up, and it works in Ferrari's favour again. Somehow, Charles Leclerc with a not very remarkable lap, if I say so myself. I don't think that was a lap of what we expect in Baku, but somehow he managed again, get another pole position thanks to a red flag ending qualifying.
Yeah, what was sad is that including Hamilton and Verstappen, and you could argue some others, were on a flying lap when it happened. They were expected to go fast, which again, if you should learn from last week, was you need to put it in sooner, your flying lap.
Yeah.
You can't risk it.
No, everyone's doing this, trying to play qualifying like they normally play it, but what the last 2 weeks have shown us is that, sadly, that's not how it is going to play out on a street circuit, it seems. Everyone is having accidents.
Even before then, when Hamilton, he set his on the first time in a couple of weeks in some circuits before.
Yeah,
it's not the flying lap that's on the last go. That's one.
No, it's this whole issue of when people set this fast lap, right? They're coming out in his first time around, but like you're saying, it seems to be the only time cars are actually getting around, because immediately after we're seeing these flags being shown, and everyone's not taking the risk of, let's put a flying lap immediately the first go out, let's just do one, see how we go. And I don't know, it's not really showing off the cars as what speed they can actually do. I think you are right, the strategy needs to change and be adapted a bit to actually facilitate problems like this of early qualifying coming to an end.
I feel like they will be looking at that, especially since what's happened, and maybe we'll see more faster laps quicker, sooner. That's what I meant.
Yeah, no, that's what I think they've got to try and figure something out to try and answer this problem that these last 2 weeks have shown, because in reality we've kind of they're not really racing. It's just, it just so happens you're quite lucky. Bottas, as you're saying, Bottas and Hamilton had their flying laps ruined by the Tsunoda incident. So it's really hurting teams that to be honest, I think Alonso's words ring true that qualifying was ruined by idiots. I think is near enough the paraphrasing of what he said. Like if they can't learn to drive and not put it in the wall, they should be starting from the back. They shouldn't be keeping their positions they've earned in qualifying. You should follow the Indy 500 rule of if you crash out, you're completely out. You don't get saved and get to start again at 15th in Q2. No, you're at the back of the pack. And I think that I would be quite supportive of that because it stops drivers being stupid and careless, I think. And that's kind of what happened this weekend.
Surprisingly, I'm with you too. I think they should be last because they've crashed out and other people haven't.
Yeah.
And it would mean more people are careful getting that, because there is a fine line between how close they get.
Yeah.
But they overdo it, which will stop that overdoing it and make people want to. It'll be competitive in a different way, but still very quick times.
Yeah, no, it will just ensure. Well, not only will we still see better driving, we would also see how do I say it, less money being spent around by teams. I think they'll be quite happy with that, knowing they don't have to spend thousands and thousands repairing cars. I'm sorry, but carbon fiber merchants this weekend must have been rubbing their hands together.
Very true.
So,
is there any other noticeable things in quali that you want to?
No, I don't think there is. I think okay, maybe the Norris ignoring and getting his grid penalty, but in the grand scheme of things, quali was a normal quali. I think it was just a quali that got ended early that had some odd results up and down the grid. I think so. Do you want to go into the race? I know the race was perhaps one of the most exciting we've seen in a while, I'd say.
Let's go into the race. I'm going to admit that I wasn't there live watching it. I watched highlights and stuff. My sister was up, so we had a bottomless brunch, and I'm pretty sure George got loads of messages from me later.
Yes, no, I quite enjoyed the 3-hour delay to what I was messaging about and trying not to spoil what was going on, followed by the responses at about 5 o'clock. So.
Oh God.
So, well, perhaps I think we'd start with pit strategies, because I think that's actually what determined a lot of this race.
Yeah.
So like the Red Bull, I think Red Bull pulled an absolute blinder this week on how they managed to get both their cars in before Hamilton and get the jump and swap to those hard tyres.
Even though it was a slow, it was still quick enough.
Perez's stop was 4 seconds, I think, but it still gave him a second clearance.
Was 1.8, 1.9.
Yeah, and Max was a 1.9. It was what ruined Hamilton, though, is Hamilton not being released. I think one of the AlphaTauris come down the pit lane and he couldn't get released, so it ruined his pit stop. I would have thought, though, the team probably should have calculated the likelihood of the pit lane having traffic. It was one of those sloppy mistakes that you don't see Mercedes make often. And from there, it just ruined, arguably that's what ruined Hamilton's race nonetheless, because he was then stuck permanently behind. Not only would he have to get Perez, but Perez was just doing a masterful job holding Hamilton back, not letting him overtake and defending Max. And that was the whole point of the race. It was meant to be a Red Bull 1-2.
I think that brings us on to the issue that happened where there wasn't a 1-2 for Red Bull.
Yeah, the tyres. This is, I don't know. Well, you were talking about before we started recording about Pirelli's interviews and trying to how they're deflecting, perhaps, from what actually I think everyone knows and thinks what happened.
Yeah, it was a very strange interview. I don't see Pirelli make interviews that often, but they had to this weekend. But their spokesperson was basically just saying, "Oh, we think it could be debris, it could be a lot of things, but we're going to investigate, but we don't really know. So you find out later." And it was like a proper 2-4 minute interview, and it just literally just said that.
Yeah, well, they were desperate to deflect because it was okay. So it was rear right, wasn't it? That went, yeah, rear right kept going. So both on Max's car and Stroll's car, and both of them were at their similar tire life, and there was no indication of what's going to happen, that the tire was losing pressure or anything. It just went, and I think everyone saw spectacularly. Stroll, if you listen to his radio messages, you hear him going panic, going, "Get me out of here, red flag, just get me out of this car." Right on the pit entry on the main straight, it like worst possible place to go. And then Max's, I think he was just got onto the straight, and his tire went, and that was it. And it was quite funny. The memes though of Max kicking a tire went absolutely everywhere.
Well, he went straight on the radio and said he was straight on it when it was happening, and soon after basically said that tire's gone.
Yeah. No, it was clear, and you watched it and you went, "Oh my god, I've just seen it again." And you just don't expect it, but it's because this weekend they started off at 19 psi, I think, on the tires, and then they upped them to 20 on the Saturday. Pirelli were playing fast and loose with the tires this weekend. The compounds were softer than what they were last year, so last year's medium was this year's hard, and you could tell immediately that something was going to go wrong. Everyone was trying to get over to hards by lap 16, and once you sort of saw Stroll, who'd been running I think he'd been running hard since the start of the race, you can get to that end of that tire life and just immediately they're not actually safe. They're just going and putting drivers in the wall,
which is dangerous in itself. Like, crashing is not, okay, yes, crashing is a lot safer than it used to be, but it's still not, no, well, over his car.
No, well, it's like Max's crash was what, 180, 200 mile an hour crash. He went straight into the wall with. That wasn't like a tank slapper like Stroll had. It was Max went straight into the wall. And it was the way, I think it was the right thing for Red Bull. So when Max went in the wall, you could hear Red Bull on the radio to Michael Massey saying, "Look, red flag the session, give everyone a chance to get off these tires, get a new set of tires on, because it's dangerous." And he was right, and it was the right call, that red flag, which was quite funny because I think that red flag, well, the sprint race that then happened for the last 3 laps of the race, I was sitting there with my friend and we were both saying we just red flag just black flag the race, just stop, and the irony is that the regulations would let that would mean Max went on the podium, Perez, and then Hamilton, which I think Mercedes in hindsight probably should have pushed for, but no, we had the last 3 laps, and I'll let you imagine on that first lap when that started my reaction to what happened with
you were like, "Oh," and then
yeah, Hamilton's lockup straight on that straight, and because he had his brake magic on, I don't if that was the worst explanation to anyone trying to figure out why Hamilton decided to not lock up his brakes. It's all because he didn't change the setting.
His team were like blaming, like, "Oh, his brakes went." I was about like, no, you can see he locked up.
No, it's worse than that. He didn't change the setting when he was behind the safety car. So he was on safety car things, which are used to protect. I think they delivered to try and keep the brakes as hot as possible. So he just absolutely. It didn't change the setting, and so when that's why if you look at the restart, you see his brakes are overheating and just burning. And I'm thinking that don't look right. And I thought, oh soddy, he's got ahead of Perez, and suddenly the Mark Webber scream encapsulated my exact feeling of how excited I was to see Hamilton make that mistake and just go straight on. And his race was ruined.
See, mine was a slightly different reaction. I just laughed.
No, I'm pretty sure my neighbours don't like me after the noise that I was made. I was so excited to see that mistake, and it's not a mistake you see often, is it?
Yeah, but he's humble, guys. He's humble about it.
Oh yeah, sure. I can only imagine the almighty hell that broke out in that debrief, even though it's his fault. Right, and you can see they made a bit of a backtracking statement yesterday or the day before, saying, "Oh, it's our duty to give Hamilton a car to minimize his a car that will help minimize his mistakes." I was like, "Oh, just shut up, move on." We can see that you've actually got for once a bit of competition, and you're gonna have to deal with it. You can't just be dominant like you were for last few seasons.
Yeah. I feel like that basically sums up everything.
It does. Well, it's the thing is that I think just going through quickly, perhaps just pulling out. I saw. Actually, no. We'll save that for when we do the driver ratings for some of the performances. So I don't know if you want to move on. You want to move that down onto that now? I think the race we've covered the race.
That.
So do you want to talk about the podium then? So we've got our podium sitters: Perez, Vettel, and Gasly.
So I gave Perez an 8B because he drove the hell out of that car. The way he defended Hamilton and protected Verstappen, I thought, that was a really good drive. And I had to deduct a level of point because he didn't he was in P2 safely. And due to Max, he inherited P1. So yes, he had to defend it, and there was a mistake from Hamilton on the sprint start. But I still think he drove the car really, really well, and he deserved that P1.
Yeah. No, I on the other hand, I did give him the 8A. I thought, like you, I thought it was a spectacular drive. He did everything right, but I was a bit kind of because it finally showed Perez's flair for what you can do as a driver, and proving that he was the right choice for that seat, bearing in mind that Red Bull do want titleship. They've got titleship aims, and it's one of them where in his post interviews you immediately said, "Oh, I'm sorry for Max, but I'm actually really thankful for Alex. Alex wasn't bitter about me coming in and taking his seat. Instead, he showed me everything why he couldn't drive it, what were the problems and the issues, and he was." I don't know. He recognised and was really quite. I'm trying to find the word here. Not. I don't want to use humble, but it's one of them. Just put out a thesaurus; it will be there. But he recognised the faults of himself and the problems that these other members of the team faced, and he just put it together. And I think the drive that he did absolutely was just class. It's just adding to really what you've already said.
He did say, "Give me 5 races, and I should be up there."
Yeah, and we're round 6, wasn't it? 7. 1, 2, 3, 4,
6.
5. Yeah, round 6 we're on. So
he said, "Give me 5 races." So
well, he got there in the end. He weren't far off, was he? And bearing in mind that some of the races before have been recovery drives because he just doesn't do well in qualifying. But this time he did everything he needed to do, and he got Red Bull those points, and it now puts Red Bull 26 points ahead in the constructors, and Max is still is still leading by 4. So
There is now 3 P3 in the drivers.
I think so. I think he's up there. I can have a look-see. Let's see. Perez, Perez has overtaken Norris now by 3 points. So.
And that just shows, how having a second driver in the Red Bull has helped, and having someone who can learn from other people, and I think they should keep him for a bit longer.
I think they're going to renew him for another year. I think he's got another year.
If they want a championship fighting car and a team, this is the team.
Yeah, no, easily. I think this is probably the best chance they have at doing it with the current driver market, the way it is. So, right, do you want to go on to Vettel and Gasly? Do them together.
I put Vettel and Gasly both at a 7B. I thought they drove amazingly, especially Gasly kept Hamilton behind him the whole time as well. I just thought they both drove amazingly, and I feel like it was a well-deserved podium.
Yeah, no, I agree. I was a bit kinder. I think I've been a bit kinder throughout the whole of our ratings this week, and I said that both of them got 7As. Right, Vettel at one point leading the race, they'd made the right choice about when to pit him. He knew, and he showed off what that Aston Martin actually can do. Last week I think was a huge confidence boost for him, or let's say week before last for Monaco. I think that was a huge confidence boost. Everything they need, they've done everything they needed to do to get that car, really good podium contending. They're not looking for championships, they're looking for podiums, and Vettel there is doing the right thing. Gasly's showing that he's got his confidence at AlphaTauri, and he knows what he needs to deliver, and he's giving that team a bit of excitement. I think the problem, what's shocking really is why is the junior team for Red Bull outperforming these Mercedes at times, or really it's showing that I think Red Bull dominance probably is on its way back.
Yeah, if you can have your podium and your B team on the podium, I mean, that just says a lot.
Yeah, no, I think it's getting to the point where because next season Red Bull are going to have their own engines, aren't they? As far as I was aware, I think they're trying to make their own engines because of Honda pulling out. So it'll be interesting to see what happens there. But if you're both getting main team, B team on the podium, it's a weird win for them.
Yeah, I think Honda are pulling out, but maybe this may prove that they should stay in if they're going to win.
Yeah, well, if they win, I think Honda are going to be a bit wound up that why did we pull out? But I don't know. I think they're I don't know. It depends.
So I don't think they're still helping them develop and learn about the engines and stuff. Like, they're not leaving them completely in the dry.
No. So there's Red Bull. That's why I think Red Bull are trying to do as much as are doing as many of the chances to study what Honda are doing, and figuring out what they're going to do for their own power units for next season. So. Right, do you want to move on to the rest of our? Do you want to go into the rest of our top 10 rundown?
I gave Leclerc a 6A. I thought he drove amazingly. However, he did start first and he finished fourth. And people overtook him, especially Gasly. So I gave 6C. I don't think it was an amazing performance from him, but
No.
Hey, he got P9. However, he was in P7 before Verstappen and Hamilton, went out in the top 10.
Yeah.
So he inherited 2 places. So it was an amazing drive. Alonso, I gave a 6C. He drove great. I didn't see him a lot in my highlights that I watched, so I can, I'm a bit harsher on that because, yeah. Then Tsunoda, I gave a 6A. He made it in the points this week. I don't think it was an amazing drive, but for him to be in the points, that's very good. He's only only 4 places behind Gasly, so not too bad considering weeks the gap. Sainz, I gave a 6A. Ricciardo, I gave a 7C. I thought he drove well considering he crashed out in qualifying. And Kimi, I gave a 6A. He got points for the team. And I thought he drove quite well.
Yeah, no, there's a few of them. There's going to be a huge disparity. So I was a bit kinder on Leclerc, mainly because I thought he did really well in qualifying. He did go backwards a lot in the race, definitely, but I still think it showed that he's really trying to show the Ferrari is definitely on the return up. And the way, if things later on didn't happen with his teammate, they probably would have had a 4th, 5th finish. Norris, I gave Norris an 8A. I was hugely impressed by Lando's recovery drive here. I thought he got his grid penalty for ignoring red flags, but the fact that he was able to then, not only did he go back down to 12th on the opening lap, he then fought his way back up the field, and it was an amazing drive for the points. It is a shame Ferrari do have now overtaken McLaren for P3 in the constructors, but Lando, even though he made the mistakes that he made, he fought tooth and nail to get it back. Alonso, I gave a 7A. I thought that was a really good drive from Alonso, putting the Alpine. I think it's probably one of the highest finishes the Alpine have had, and really showing that on the right day that Alonso will stretch everything out possible out of that car. Tsunoda, I gave a 7B. Like you said, it was a good. I saw quite a bit of him. It was a good weekend. He got into Q3 all right a bit. He did crash, but still, the answer of Yuki, we need more pace. He said, well, I've got this is all the pace I've got now. Shut up and leave me alone. He tried his best. And bearing in mind that he's had a few bad races this season, I think it's a good return to form. Sainz, I gave a 7A. I thought it was a really good recovery drive after he made a mistake going into turn 3. I think it was. He locked up, near enough ruined his entire race. We went down to P15, and the fact that he managed to claw it back to P8 really showed something. There was some on the live feed. You did see some times where he was climbing up the field as quick as possible, and it was really good overtakes going on. Ricciardo, I gave a 6A. I don't know. Ricciardo qualifying 14th, and I don't know. For a £17 million driver, I kind of expect a bit more from Ricciardo, and the whole charm of him at McLaren for me is really starting to wear off. It's one of them where I think there may be better options for McLaren, but they are locked in with Ricciardo for the time being. And Kimi, I gave a 6A. As you said, it's just one of those points for the team. Just a very normal Kimi performance.
Right. Let's go to the last 10. Like Giovinazzi, I gave a 6A, and so did you.
Yep.
I thought it was a good drive, but nothing special. Bottas was 12th. I gave him a 3A. You gave him a 4C. I just thought his qualifying was awful, and the race he just didn't show anything.
No, they had no pace. He's struggling with that car, and I don't know. I think Toto's on the phone. If we can't, what was the picture I sent you? If George can't get to Mercedes, we'll bring Mercedes to George.
I feel bad for Bottas, but at the same time, I don't think the car is suiting him.
No, I think he's struggling with it. No, he's a good driver, but
Schumacher was P13. I gave him a 6C. You gave him a 5A. Mazepin was 14th. I gave him a 4C. So did you. I don't think it was an amazing drive. However, he did finish above a Mercedes, a Red Bull, Williams. Give him credit where credit's due. Not that I like him, but
Oh.
right, let's move on to Hamilton. Was in P15. I gave him a 3A. You gave him a 3C. I thought up to that point where he locked up, I thought he was okay. It was a strategy that let him down. I don't think it was him, but then it was his fault. He locked up and done the setting. So
yeah. It was a mistake from him. The team shouldn't really blame him. It's on him, and he shouldn't be making these mistakes. And he ruined his own race.
Latifi is in P16. I gave him a 5C. You gave him a 5B. Russell was P17. I gave him a 4A. You gave him a 5B. I believe at the end his car broke down and he was driving it.
Yeah.
Pushing it.
Pushing it down the pit lane while the restart was going on.
Then in P18 was Verstappen. We both gave him a 7C. I thought he drove an amazing race, and it's not his fault he was in P18.
I agree with you all the way.
Then DNF from Stroll. We both gave him a 7C. I think he was driving great. It was not his fault. He crashed out. Yeah. And then Ocon, I gave a 5C. You gave a 5A. I don't think we need to explain that one.
No, he lasted 3 laps and he was out. But he did reasonably well in qualifying, so I had to give him a bit of slack for it.
Go into our predictions. So
yes,
I'm not bragging here, but none of us got from last week our predictions. None of us got the pole. I went for Verstappen. You went for Bottas. No, we should have learned from last week. It was going to be a Ferrari. And then no one got the top 5 apart from me. I got Norris in P5. So I on 7 and George is on 14.
Yes, well, now you've caught up with me. I had a good opening season, but not like Mercedes. I seem to be floundering at the moment with no points.
Point, George.
Although I've still got a 7-point lead.
Fine. Anyway, the next race is going to be France, that poor card. So, who have you gone for pole for the bonus point?
For bonus point, I'm putting my heart on Max. I want to see Verstappen pole. I think he can do it. I think the car is slightly faster than Mercedes. I think he's got a chance.
I've gone for Hamilton because we had this debate earlier. I think George wanted to put Hamilton as well because he has the last race was there. He was on pole, I believe, and he finished first. And Mercedes were 1-2. Yeah. So my top 5, I've gone for Hamilton, Verstappen, but I'll be happy if Verstappen wins, so I don't mind. So it's fine. Then I've gone for Perez. I feel like he's got a massive confidence boost and the car is better. Then I've gone to Bottas, and then I've gone to Norris.
Yep. Well, I think I'm slightly with you, but I'm gonna swap it around a bit, the order. So as I said, my pole is Verstappen, but I still think podium's going to be Verstappen, Hamilton. But I think Leclerc. I think the Ferrari's gonna. We've got to factor in the chaos theory that is Ferrari at the moment, because everyone expected them not to be performing and doing podiums, but they seem to be having that possibility. I put Perez 4th and I put Bottas 5th. I'd love to factor in the McLarens, but I honestly think Leclerc has a slightly faster car than Norris does. So I think I'm factoring that in. So hopefully, fingers crossed, I can earn some points again for the first time in 2 weeks.
All right, should we go into final thoughts? I just want to quickly mention that they had an Extreme E race. Team Rosberg won. It was the ocean race this week, I believe, and they were, bringing awareness to climate change in the ocean, which I thought was all very good, but does it really need a race? I mean, the whole thing's a bit. I don't know. The whole thing's a bit.
Well, have you seen on a bit of about this whole idea of raising awareness? Bo Burnham's Inside comedy special. It launched last week. There's a whole skit about it that he does about brands and how brands no longer need to. Customers don't want to know what a brand is selling. They want to know what a brand is doing about a particular issue. So, will you support X, Y, and Z in their fight against this? And kind of in that vein is what I'm seeing here. Like, okay, great. I understand you're trying to raise awareness, but they're making the whole sport around it. I think most people watch it are more interested in the extreme. It's essentially extreme motocross, really, isn't it?
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like it's great that they're using like electric cars and it's a female and male driver lineup, so it's giving more equal opportunity.
Yeah.
Like I'm happy that they're doing stuff to raise awareness, but I don't know. It's just a bit. I think it's a bit too much.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I don't know. It seems to be the trend, isn't it? But I understand what they're trying to do with it. But I personally, I didn't watch the race. Actually, I didn't know it was going on, if I was honest. So I might actually go through and see what some of the highlights and see what happened, and just give it a watch and see whether or not it's as good as enjoyable as Formula One.
And my other thing was the best car, NASCAR. They basically said we have a left-hand specialist if you want it to Mercedes, which I thought was quite funny.
Really? Well, well, that's the the joke, isn't it, with all of it with NASCAR? If there's a cheap dig to be made, the Americans will take it.
It was quite funny. You have to admit,
Yes.
it was quite. I saw it and I did chuckle to myself because I'll go in the circle, so it's all.
They go around the circle. Yeah, it's all left.
So I did find that quite funny, and it was just nice to see other motorsports getting involved, and Mercedes took it very well.
Yeah, they've got to take it on the chin, haven't they? Things happen. Whoops, move on, really, isn't it?
Like your one that you sent me with Paris with the the butt.
The big butt Perez and Max kicking the back of Hamilton's car as he starts. Like it was a good weekend for good quality content, I suppose.
True. And on that note, thank you for listening to this podcast on Baku, and we'll see you again soon.
Thank you all. Catch you soon.